All right, so as she joins us every Monday is Amber Wilson, and all of her appearances here during football season are presented by Sawgrass Infinity, Florida's #1 volume Infinity dealer. Sawgrassinfinity.com. Sawgrass Infinity has 400 new Infinity models in stock at all times. Go to sawgrassinfinity.com. They're conveniently located off the Sawgrass and Commercial Boulevard. Sawgrass Infinity, where the commercial ends and the savings begin. Hello, Amber Wilson.
Hello, Jonathan ZASLOW.
Did you enjoy Chapel Hill?
I did. It was beautiful. It was really, really pretty, which that wasn't really a surprise. In my mind, it was going to be really pretty, and it lived up to it. So, listen, the game was a poop fest, but we kind of expected that was going to be the case. It was cool still to experience it, experience UNC, experience the buzz around that program, because it is unusual that Bill Belichick is running that program. So overall, yeah, I really enjoyed it there. How about you?
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it, but for the first time, and this I only did this once last year on our campus tour. For the first time this year, we didn't even bother going into the game. So we got done doing our show right at kickoff at noon, and then we do our digital show, which took a little bit longer than expected. That's neither here nor there. But by the time we got done with our responsibilities, it was the end of the first quarter. It was 28-3. And I'm like, you're not getting me. You're not getting me to go into that stadium. I'm not going there. All right. So for the first time, we did not go into the building. But Chapel Hill was cool. UNC is a beautiful campus. Next up for us. So we're off next weekend because I'm going to be in London. And you're just like, hey, if ZASLOW's not doing the show, I'm not doing the show without him. So you're not doing the show. That's right. Everybody knows.
I'm like, listen, I need a break. Okay, if we're not on the road and ZASLOW is gallivanting internationally, then this girl, she's taking some time off. So
that's right. That's right.
I don't know who's doing the show. It is happening. I don't know who's doing it.
So in 2 weeks, you and I are back at it. We are in South Bend. Have you ever been to South Bend?
I've never been to South Bend, Indiana. That's one of the schools that I'm most excited to see.
It's cool.
Notre Dame. And you mentioned, so we didn't end up going into the game at UNC because it was a terrible game by the time we were done. And also because you and I had flights out where we would have had to leave the game anyway. So if we had walked in, we would have been there, for an hour or something, and then we would have left. So you and I went straight to the airport, so we didn't even have to worry about not being there in time for our flight. But if we're talking about some of these more iconic stadiums that we get to go to, even if the game's a poop fest, I want to walk in to see that environment. And UNC football doesn't do that to me. If it was UNC basketball, that probably would be a different story. And I probably would have been like, hey, ZASLOW, we're walking into the arena either way, just to check it out and be able to take in that atmosphere. So Notre Dame, for me, is one of those places. It's like one of those schools, one of those iconic, historic football programs that I need to be able to say that I've seen in person in my life as somebody who loves college football as much as I do. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, Notre Dame's awesome. So that's our next stop in a couple of weeks. Let's do a little college football here. Then we'll get to the Miami Dolphins from yesterday, which is a ton to get to there. Let's start out, though, with the Gators. All right. You're wearing your Florida Gators sweater right there. Amber, both you and I, we make our picks on College Football Campus Tour. It's very important to get things right. Everybody knows no one likes getting things right more than you do. And both of us picked Florida to beat number 9, Texas. And, I mean, they really kind of kicked their ass. I mean, they, defensively, they were all over them all game long. That was a great win for the Gators.
Yeah, it really, really was. You and I are geniuses, but we already knew that. But listen, the Gators had a bye before this game. They had an opportunity to game plan, obviously, for this Texas team. Now, what's it going to look like with Billy calling that offense when he doesn't have the week off? Because they've still got Texas A&M coming in, right? This schedule is so gross for the Florida Gators moving forward. But nevertheless, I felt pretty confident that even against a top 10 team with the week to strategize, that they'd be able to get something done, because people don't realize how good that Florida defense is and has been all season long. I mean, the fact that Miami was able to beat Florida the way that Miami did, I thought said more about who Miami is, than even the Gators at that point. So that defense was exactly as we expected. And the difference, of course, in that matchup with Texas is what the offense was able to do against that Texas defense, which was obvious, which was previously a top 10 defense in the country as well. And so that was the more impressive thing is when are the Gators going to find a little bit more from DJ Lagway like we did last season? And he had defenses had been really effective against him this season, neutralizing him. And when they took away the deep pass, the explosive play, which is what Lagway was known for last season, he really didn't have much to do. Like, he did not have a command of the offense. Well, I think that's where the bye week helped because you had a totally different quarterback in that game who actually had a command of the offense, and in large part because of the debut of Dallas Wilson, which a receiver for Florida who looks like, I mean, after one game, that he's going to be, all world at that position. So he had over 100 yards receiving in that game. Lagway had over 300 yards passing. It was the best game of DJ Lagway's entire career, and it came against that Texas defense. I don't know if the Gators can build on that. I really, really hope so. It was a hell of a win for the Florida Gators, and it's always dangerous when one team has nothing to lose and the other team still has a lot to lose. And now Texas is going to be that team with nothing to lose walking into Oklahoma for that Red River rivalry.
That USF game is the game we're always going to look back at because just how different would we be looking at the Gators season right now if instead of 2-3, they were 3-2, and the losses are to, what was a top-ranked LSU team and to what is probably the best team in the country in the Miami Hurricanes. That USF loss, that was the killer.
And both of those were on the road, don't forget. And there's no shame in losing at Death Valley at night to LSU, no matter where LSU is, frankly, in the rankings. But yeah, that USF game is the one. I can't explain it. And it came down to the very end. I mean, the Gators shot themselves in the foot, which they'd been doing all season long. They're a really, really sloppy team. Texas and Florida were very similar teams coming into this matchup. Neither of them were good offensively. Both of them were incredibly sloppy. Both of them had shot themselves in the foot over and over again. Texas had played way lesser competition after Ohio State, and that's why Texas looked so much better. And
they're not any good. I'm sorry. They are not any good. I mean,
No.
I can't. It really was all hype that they went into the season number one. No, they actually went into Ohio State, the defending national champs, in week one as the number one ranked team in the country. What nonsense.
It's the first time since like the 1960s that the preseason number 1 and 2, because it was Texas and Penn State, number 1 and 2 lost to unranked teams in the same weekend. And I've heard some old heads saying, because this is sort of what people do, right? And by old heads, I mean people my age, because that's what most commentators are. But what we do when we get to this age, ZASLOW, is we like to think that the next generation, they're so soft, right? And so there's a lot in college football, the people that commentate on college football talking about how the players, they're too big for their britches, and they, because of NIL and because of all the attention and because it's so popular, that they're not taking things seriously. And like, that's why Texas and Penn State were 1 and 2 and then lose to unranked teams. I don't think that's why at all. I think what it is actually, that is a hell of a lot harder to make preseason predictions in 2025 than it ever was at any point in the history of college football before. Why? Because of the transfer portal, Jonathan ZASLOW, not because these kids are getting paid, and not because this next generation is, soft or doesn't care about winning. I mean, obviously they care. They're getting paid millions of dollars. They probably care a hell of a lot more, if we're being honest. I mean, they've got a lot to lose right now in the here and now. So I think that it's because of the transfer portal and because of everything in terms of the parity that now legitimately exists in college football in a way that it never did before. It's really hard to make proper predictions preseason. And I think Penn State and Texas were way overhyped.
All right, so you mentioned Penn State there. Like, what are we supposed to do with James Franklin at this point? Like, that loss at UCLA is such a disgrace. Like, what are we – and look, Penn State, they're one of the top-ranked teams every year under James Franklin. So they're in it, but they never actually win the big game. They never get over the hump. What are we supposed to do about him?
Playoff games. So stupid. But yeah, fine. We don't count those because we didn't like the competition. Even though
it's SMU and Boise State. Come on.
I mean, SMU right now, undefeated in the ACC. By the way, the ACC is crazy. It's wide open. There's all sorts of undefeated teams in the ACC right now, and not Florida State. Sorry, FSU, you're no longer a part of that conversation. Virginia, by the way, they're part of that conversation too. There's a lot of teams in the ACC we didn't expect to be there that could be challenging Miami in an ACC championship in Charlotte later this year. But when it comes to Penn State, listen, I know we're going to do the thing. It's all James Franklin's fault, and fine, he's the head coach, right? And that is an incredibly embarrassing loss to UCLA, who did not have a coach, didn't have coordinators. There's no excusing it. But if we really look at it, is it just James Franklin, or is it the fact that they bring in this really fancy D coordinator and make him the highest paid D coordinator in college football, I believe, pay him all this money? And that's why everybody was so high on Penn State in the preseason, because they thought, okay, well, James Franklin fixed the problems there on that side of the ball. And then they go to UCLA and they get worked by a tight ends coach who became an OC 2 days before and somehow drew up a game plan good enough to not just beat Penn State, but to make Iamaleava look like the next coming, look like the
good pronunciation. Good job out of you there.
Nico Iamaleava. Well, that one I had to practice for years because he was supposed to be the it guy in college football. And it never damn amounted to anything when it came to Tennessee or now UCLA, right? He's bounced all over, but that's what we got out of him with this tight ends coach. We got the guy that he was supposed to be when it came into college football. UCLA is a dangerous team because they had nothing to lose. I mean, literally, they were playing for nothing. Penn State was playing, obviously, for everything. They clearly went in with far too conservative of a game plan, and they got worked. And then everyone's going to pile on James Franklin. And also, I've heard people piling on his post-game comments because, I heard like Fred McElroy, I'm listening to his podcast, and he's out here saying, I don't want excuses, because James Franklin would be asked, what happened with such and such? And he'd be like, well, we weren't prepared enough. I think the travel affected us. I think this and that. And he'd try to give answers for, why. And then if you give answers for why, then that's excuses in the world.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like those could be reasons and not excuses. But I also,
anytime in college, somebody gives any coach in football, we do this in the NFL too. If you give me reasons, if you give me answers to the freaking questions I ask you, that's excuses, people. We don't like excuses. Football, man, no excuses.
No, it could be reason, not excuse. But I do think that maybe I don't want to hear from the Big Ten teams complaining about travel.
That's
this is where we live now. You signed a deal as a conference. You're all making incredible money, and what comes with it is a little bit of weird travel.
Right. No, that's completely fair. And there's no negating that. But it wasn't just his answer about travel. It was, other answers as well. And for me, I guess I just feel like there's no winning for James Franklin, to be perfectly honest with you. No. And I get a little tired of the storyline. He makes a lot of money, so he's not leaving Penn State. If I was James Franklin, beyond the money, I would not really want to be the coach of Penn State, because I don't think the next guy is going to come in and it's going to be all world and they're going to be winning a ton of natties. And I think it's a little like we pile on a little too much to the guy who, did just have them in a postseason, but nevertheless.
Amber, at this point where we are, the Miami Hurricanes are undefeated. They have a bye this coming weekend. Next up, number 2, Miami is hosting Louisville.
You're a
not
Louisville
so funny
guy, not a Louisville.
Yeah, I'm the kind of guy who says it the right way. Not so funny anymore. Not so ridiculous. Me asking people, should the Hurricanes lose another game or lose a game this regular season? Amber, there's no excuse for this team at this point now to not go undefeated in the regular season. There's no excuse.
Yeah, ZASLOW, that was a ridiculous question before they went to Doak Campbell at night to try to beat Florida State.
And they kicked their ass.
Less of a ridiculous question. But look at what we saw this weekend. Look at how many upsets we've seen over the last 3 weeks, right? So these top teams, even when they play teams like Louisville, right, who didn't they just get upset this weekend by Virginia?
Yeah.
Right? And that's a big win for Virginia. So Louisville now is fighting for their life in that conference. And so is that going to matter when they play Miami? Because they're going to have a little extra juice because their season, they don't have anything to lose, in Miami
Games here. Games here. Like, you got to kill them.
I mean, that's fine. That's not the hardest. Like, let's be honest. It's not the hardest environment in all of college football.
Really, the toughest game for the Canes the rest of the way is at SMU. That's the
right.
toughest
And that's
one.
actually a very tough game. They're undefeated, by the way, in the ACC. They're one of those teams that's right there that could be, playing them in an ACC championship. It's less likely, I think, than like a Georgia Tech per se, but they're still alive. SMU's still alive in that conference. So, yeah, I mean, that's, listen, you and I saw SMU in person, given it was early in the season. I was not impressed. I don't think any of these teams that Miami's playing are nearly as good as Miami. Do not get me wrong. I just think it's college football. And if you start feeling yourselves too much, that's when you do the cristobal and you trip and fall against some stupid team that you weren't supposed to trip and fall against. They should not do that. You're absolutely right on paper. And right now they're the best team in the country. I mean, I think that they're the best team in the country. I think they're better than Ohio State. I think they should be number one in the rankings. But, I could see Ohio State tripping and falling too. I'm not making this specific to Miami. It's college football. If I was a betting woman, if I'm betting people to go undefeated or not go undefeated,
you should start betting.
Not.
You should start betting. You should be a betting woman.
Well, I'll look into it.
The Canes received 21 first place votes. Ohio State doubled them up with 40. But nonetheless, Miami jumps up from number 3 to number 2. And
what are those
right
people
there.
Seeing? What are those people seeing with Ohio State?
Oh,
and the
it's
Canes?
fine.
I think all those people are. I think all they're seeing though is like the words Ohio State and the words.
Yeah, it's fine. Like it when the college football playoff rankings, the official ones come out in less than a month from now. I mean, homegirl Heather Dinich said this yesterday on SportsCenter. She thinks that if the rankings came out today, the committee would have Miami number 1.
Yeah, because I think their resume is more impressive.
It is. Yeah, it is. So whatever. Like the AP has Ohio State 1, Miami 2. It doesn't matter. Whatever. Just keep winning games. Speaking of winning games, or maybe not exactly winning games, Amber, are you and I going to brawl right here about Tua yesterday?
I don't think we're going to brawl about Tua. What's the brawl about?
Well, because
I mean, they lost to the Panthers. ZASLOW. Like, I'm not going to.
Well, because just like last week, when Tua has a good game, then with the game on the line, he blows it. And I tell you,
everybody blows it. Everybody on the Dolphins blow that game. Like they all blew it.
But here's my pushback to that. It's yes, the defense sucks. Obviously,
that's the real problem with this team. The defense.
Yes, the offensive line sucks. But here's the thing: I then get the pushback. How could you expect him to win it by himself? And my point is, when you're drafted number 5 overall, when you're paid $200 million, yes, sometimes I'd like you to win it by yourself.
I think you got to get over that. Like I guess that's always been my attitude about Tua. My attitude about Tua is let's all get over the fact that you're expecting because of where he was drafted and I guess what he's paid, even though what he's paid is kind of honestly like what everyone else is paid. Like I still don't agree that contract is nearly as ugly as everybody else thinks it is. But by the way, these quarterback contracts are just ugly generally. And like his is far from the ugliest. They're just ugly. I mean, like, is Jalen Hurts that great? Like, I really don't know. Like Jalen Hurts' team's a lot better. Is he better than Tua?
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and complain about Jalen Hurts. They've been in the Super Bowl 2 of the last 3 years.
Right, and that's my point. But is he better than Tua? You can't even say yes to that question. And that's the point, right? Like, there's so few quarterbacks that we can point to in the National Football League and say, yes, that guy by himself on a shitty team with a Jalen Waddle who doesn't know that he was drafted high, apparently. And
no, Waddle was good. Waddle was very good yesterday. Very good.
Finally, yesterday. He was good finally yesterday. But still, like, it took Tyreek not being available for him to wake up, right? Which, I mean, that was supposed to be the two-headed monster, so I don't know why everybody can't clicking at the same time. But in terms of that defense is trash. And the Dolphins brass definitely deserve a lot of criticism for that. That's a largely Chris Greer problem because of our personnel. We had Vic Fangio for a second, then he goes to the Eagles and he makes Jalen Hurts look all world because they get a Super Bowl out of it. My point is that it's not like Tua isn't our biggest problem. Like, it's just not. You can draft a new guy. We can get rid of Tua. We can draft a new guy. And if everything else remains the same, we are still going to suck unless you draft Patrick Mahomes. And that seems highly unlikely. And like, who is Patrick Mahomes coming out of college right now?
Amber.
Like, I mean,
Amber.
what are we talking?
Chris Greer. I don't know how, Mike McDaniel too, for that matter, because I don't know how you could look at what the Dolphins have done this year and think that long-term that Mike McDaniel is the guy. I would fire both Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer today.
Both.
How about
the keyword is both?
Oh yeah, of course. I would, and if I had to pick one to fire, like if you had to pick one of them, you're only going to fire one of them, McDaniel or Chris Greer. It's who?
It's easily Chris Greer to me. Easily.
Yeah, easily. And here's the thing, and I'm going to add some fuel to that fire here, Amber. The Dolphins' first 2 picks in the draft this year, their first round pick was defensive tackle Kenneth Grant. Their second round pick was left guard Jonah Savainia. And I'm definitely saying his name wrong.
How are you nailed
Whatever. He doesn't deserve to have me say his name right. And here's the thing. Pro Football Focus has both of them graded dead last at their respective positions in the entire league.
That's shameful. Like, that's what we need to be talking about. We spend so much time because football is hard and it's hard to understand football and it's hard to talk about football. And so we tend to just put so much on the quarterbacks. And obviously, like, we know that the quarterback can, make Bill Belichick look like Bill Belichick 1 minute when you have Tom Brady and very much not the next when you don't. So I understand why we spend so much time on the quarterback, but we're really minimizing what's been happening around Tua, because I'm not saying Tua's an elite quarterback. He's not. He's okay. But there's other players on that team that are not okay. And there's other draft picks we made that are not even okay. And we're not spending enough time on that. Chris Greer, the way he's managed this team for almost a decade. Get out of here, man. Like, it's time.
You and I have spent years essentially defending Stephen Ross as an owner because, he's not afraid to spend money. You look at what he's done for the stadium. We've made the case that he's a very good owner, okay? But what I will tell you, though, and now I have to push back on my own opinion there, is you can't continue to allow that guy to run the personnel if I'm going to call you a good owner. You can't be a good owner and continue to allow terrible management, Amber.
Right. I listen, at some point I tend to agree. Now, what gets overlooked in that is we just talk about terrible management in terms of like football ops and basically just in terms of the general manager. There's so much more to an organization than that. Just from working in the Dolphins when I was in law school in their legal department, like, people just really do not understand, everything that goes into these NFL teams, everybody in management positions on the business side, on the side that makes Stephen Ross the money. There's a lot that goes into it. And there's a lot of really good people that work in that organization. That was a great organization to work for. So we get a little bit confused when we're just making it Chris Greer and football personnel decisions. I don't think it's a trash organization. I think Stephen Ross is a very good owner. I really actually do. But when it comes to his loyalty now to Chris Greer for that particular job, it's undeniable that it's not paying off, and that if you're going to continue that loyalty for too long. And listen, I don't know what's going on with the situation. Don't forget, like, Brian Flores was actively suing for, in part, Stephen Ross, right, letting him go, and there was racial accusations in there. I don't know if that complicates things at all. Like, I have no idea what the state of that is. And obviously, Chris Greer was the general manager at that time as well. I don't know if that has anything to do with anything. I really don't. I think there's a lot that goes into running a team and things that surround a team that we may not be considering when we're thinking, why is this person still able to make these football decisions year after year, when from a personnel perspective, it seems pretty obvious to the rest of us that it's not working out. And there's only so much I think any given coach can do if you don't have the bright personnel on both sides of the ball.
Amber, everyone knows, and they look forward every Monday. We need an update. Amber Wilson's NFL Power Rankings. That's right. You can't hear it right now, but there is very, very fierce NFL music that is playing above us right now. The listeners love it. It has everybody in a great mood. Amber, let's get to it here. We'll count down 5 to 1. We'll start with number 5 for dramatic purposes. You have been known sometimes you start with number 1. That makes no sense. That's not dramatic whatsoever. Let's start with number 5. Go ahead.
I like to switch things up, keep people on their toes, but fine. I will start with number 5, the Philadelphia Eagles. I I don't know if they have an offense. AJ Brown is all kinds of upset. They have drama. We can say that about the Eagles. Even if they're winning Super Bowls, they've got a lot of drama in Philadelphia. Them boys, they love some drama. Nick Sirianni and them boys. They lose to the Broncos. I think I had them the previous week at number 2. I'm dropping you to number 5. I'm still keeping you, though, as a top 5 team right now.
We put it on a poll last week about the Philadelphia Eagles and the drama. Are they the couple that loves to fight so they can have makeup sex? That seems to be the Philadelphia Eagles, right?
Yes, it does seem to be. It's hard to worry about it when you've seen them overcome it and win a Super Bowl. So, but it still seems to exist. And I thought it was funny that I asked you if Jalen Hurts is better than Tua Tagovailoa, and you can't actually give me an answer to that question.
I don't know. I do know that Jalen Hurts runs around the field, and Tua is the most unathletic quarterback maybe I've ever seen.
Well, that's true, and that's significantly helpful. And I don't think Tua could execute that tush push in the same way that Jalen Hurts could. So there's that. Number 4, the San Francisco 49ers. I can't explain it. They have nobody on that team. Mac Jones is playing quarterback. I don't know. By the way, wasn't this what we were supposed to get from the Shanahan disciple? Isn't that why we hired Mike McDaniel in Miami? We were supposed to get this. The team that can win regardless, frankly, of who's playing quarterback.
Well, I think we all know San Francisco is a really well-built, well-rounded team. You can't tell me if you put Mac Jones or even Brock Purdy, for that matter, on this Dolphins team that they'd be any good. They would not.
No, they would not. You know why? Because those guys aren't as good as Tua.
They may not be as good as Tua, but Tua's
what
not.
Tua look like on the San Francisco 49ers?
He'd probably look fine. He would. He'd probably look fine.
He'd probably win a Super Bowl.
He'd look fine.
Jimmy Garoppolo was there. Tua would be winning a Super Bowl if he was on the San Francisco 49ers. Number 3, the Buffalo Bills. The Bills were the last unbeaten team in the entire
NFL. Even after losing yesterday,
yes,
okay.
They were the last unbeaten in the entire NFL. You get credit for being the last unbeaten in the entire NFL. Then they got beat by a division rival, and that one's hard to explain. Those uniforms were dope AF. I got to be honest with you. I'm a little sad they lost in them.
I liked them.
But we hate the Bills. I like those uniforms. But the Bills, I mean, any given Sunday, right? I feel like they're still going to be a top team at the end of the day in the NFL. This week was really hard, by the way, to do these power rankings because I don't feel like we know anything about anything when it comes to the NFL. Like, I'm more confused than ever after 5 weeks of the season. Number 2, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I've been telling you the last couple weeks, they've been in my power rankings at the very bottom of my power rankings, and you've been thinking I was crazy. Can't think I'm crazy anymore. They go into Seattle. They win that game. Another come from behind win for the Bucks. You know about that 12th man, Jonathan?
I do. I know.
Not an easy. What do you know about it?
They're the 12th man. I know about them. They're loud.
It's a hard place to win, is what you need to know about Seattle. The Bucks are the second team since at least 1991 with winning 4 times in their first 5 games, despite trailing in the 4th quarter in all of those wins.
Oh, wow. So you're telling me they have a quarterback who is able to overcome and make big plays with the game on the line. Incredible.
Yeah, incredible. But also that guy got let go in Cleveland and in Carolina and in Los Angeles before he found the right personnel around him in Tampa Bay, Florida, for us to realize Baker's got the goods. Number 1, the Detroit Lions. I still have no explanation for what happened to them in week 1. Since then, they've been outscoring opponents 174 to 112. They play the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football this week, so we're going to learn. But all they've done since week 1 is look like the most balanced team in the NFL.
Amber, what's it going to take for the Indianapolis Colts to break your top 5?
It's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot. I mean, at some point here, there's a lot of teams with only 1 loss in the NFL. And I mean, I'm going to buy into Daniel Jones. All right. Daniel Jones better than Tua Tagovailoa.
Hey, it looks like it. So 5-1. Say it to us again here real quick.
Oh, please pause. So I put down my coffee. The Eagles, the 49ers, the Bills, the Bucks, and the Lions.
There it is. An updated week 5 edition of Amber Wilson's Power Rankings. Amber, you said it all. Tell everybody how they can hear you throughout the week.
I don't actually know how you can hear me throughout the week, so check me out on
Can't
social.
is the answer. You cannot. What a gig this Amber Wilson has.
No, that might not be true because I don't have the schedule for Amber and Ian yet. So Amber and Ian's on 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. We get bumped a lot for Major League Baseball this time of year. I don't actually have the schedule yet. I know we're off air tonight. It all depends on the outcome of these games. So we have a rolling schedule throughout the week. Because I took off this weekend, since you're Mr. International, I will be on Amber and Ian during this week if in fact we have shows. So I can't give you that answer, but Amber W Sports. That's what you find.
Excellent job, Amber. Well, we are off this week. Back on the road though next week. Appreciate you. Be good. We'll see you later.
Thanks.